Uh, so just this is going to be a fairly quick, short little video about something that came up earlier today in Facebook of all places, talking about reloads and getting the gun back into battery once you've completed your reload. So the discussions basically circle around. I'm going to show you all this real quick. These are three completely empty magazines. I do have my pistol here, cleared, empty, and I'm going to use one of these to show you here. So the discussion is circling around. Once you've shot to slide lock, your gun is dry, go to do your reload, get your magazine in, and then what your next step there is. And the discussion is, well, do you use the slide release here on the side? Are you doing bring your hand over, racking the slide this way? Are you doing slingshot, doing some other variation, something like that? I just want to preface all this by saying that all of these methods work. There's no debate about one of them being effective while the others just don't work or whatever. The points that I'm trying to make here are just going to be in understanding the differences, understanding what's going on while you're doing them, and my personal preferences. And as always, I'm not an instructor. I'm not teaching this. I'm just going through the steps of things that I've learned and kind of sharing that with you guys. So in the event, I'm going to walk through first of all how I prefer to do the reloads. For me, and I'm shooting, bang, 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 go to slide lock. Typically, my steps are going to be bring the gun in just about here before I break the grip. This is where I'm going to hit the slide release. I'm going to probably rotate a little bit. That does a couple of things. If the magazine's in here, I may give it a little jostle to get it coming loose. That also brings it up here, so I've got a little better angle for the reload. Keeps the gun right here where I can still see anything that might be in front of me, and gets it close enough to where I'm not doing some weird fishing for the magwell way out here. Getting it up here fairly close where I can work with it easily. As I'm doing break the grip, bring it in, break the grip. As I'm doing that mag release, my support hand's coming down here, grab that magazine, get it ready to stay, getting it ready to go in. I might take a quick look down here, see where I'm going, get that magazine in. Now for me, once I've got that magazine in, I'm going to rotate the whole gun straight back out. And as I'm about here, that's where my thumb starts doing its work and puts the gun in the battery. Now, again, for me, that's just how I practice. That's the method that I use. For me, I can do it fairly quickly and get the gun back out there. In the event, what came up for the most part today was discussions about gross motor skills versus fine motor skills, and the argument being made is that this is a fine motor skill. Well, okay, sure, but if this, the rotating of a single, joint there on your finger, if that's a fine motor skill, then probably so is that, right? What are you doing? This is even more fine in the sense that you've got two knuckles that are working there. So if you get to the point where you think that your fine motor skills are going to be so gone that you can't do that, I'm not sure how you think you're going to be able to do that, right? Now, again, I'm not saying that this is the only thing to consider. I'm not saying that there aren't certain conditions and whatever that may come up that would require you to do something else. And so that's why, for me, again, I encourage everybody to practice different methods, to know different methods in order to be proficient. I mean, it's more tools in the toolbox, right? So some of the things that I've noticed, and it's just sort of on me personally as a shooter, is that a lot of times when I'm shooting, this particular gun especially doesn't always lock back on an empty magazine. Now, if that happens to be the case, then yes, I'm gonna break my grip, do my reload, probably come up over the top. And again, with the RMR, when we talked about this before, I can basically get whole hand purchase right on the top there and rack that and get the gun into battery. That's another big advantage that I have that I find with the RMR, of course, and I'm not the only one. I mean, I didn't find it, but if you're gonna have to do those overhand releases, so you do your reload and you're gonna come in and bring that over. Well, you don't have to worry so much about grabbing onto the slide, to make sure that you get enough of your hand on it to pull it back. You don't have to worry, if you're doing a slingshot, you don't have to worry so much about getting it just right on the serrations or whatever it happens to be. For me, I can just put my hand, whatever, right there on top of that RMR, grab it and go. The RMR also, if in the case I need to do a one-handed reload, I can just rack that right here off of my holster and be ready to go. Of course, you can do that off your belt, your shoe, whatever it happens to be. But again, with the RMR, it just makes it a whole heck of a lot easier. That's pretty much it. Just wanted to go over that. Again, fine motor skills, I don't know. This seems pretty gross. It's kind of an evolutionary thing that human beings have been doing for, some hundreds of thousands of years, depending on who you ask. So, do your thumb. If you are a left-handed shooter and you don't happen to have ambidextrous controls, maybe you want to go over the top. Maybe you want to slingshot it. That's fine, whatever. Or maybe you just want to break your grip for a second and do that. It's up to you. Again, I just encourage that you learn different methods, figure out what works best for you, understand situations in which you may need to know other methods as well. So that's it. Thank you for stopping in, and we'll see if Concealed Carry Nation, whatever, lets me back into their group. I swear.